There were a lot of games that you can literally take a coin and just kind of flip it up, and it can go either way. And so my hat goes off to Taylor and his group of players, as well as the organization, because they're going to be around for a long time. Next, man, Loon, what a game. Holy moly. 22 boards. I don't, when was the last time somebody had 22 boards?
Larry Smith was the last board in a playoff game, like in '87.
It's fantastic. I think what's more impressive than the 22 boards is I think I ran him 17 straight minutes, and I kept looking at him because after the first 5, he looked like he was dying. Then the next 2, he looked like he was worse. I don't know if he can get any worse. And then every minute after that, I was just saying, Loon, hold on. Loon, hold on. And he did. Clay, you guys have been around here a while. You know how Clay is with game 6s. What a time to step up tonight. He was fantastic. Not only, you look at his shooting, he had 8 boards. And that was one of the things that we stressed was our guards got a rebound. He had 8 boards. And on top of that, we one of the adjustments we made, we felt like we wanted to put a bigger body on Bain. And he not only scored 30, shooting 11 for 22, but he chased Bain around all night. That's no easy task. Wiggins, Draymond, between the two of them, it's 26 rebounds. And I said to you guys before, when we win the rebound game and the possession game, we give ourselves a chance to win the game. And Draymond with his 16, Wiggs with his 10, Clay with his 8, and then obviously Loon with his 20. That is remarkable against a team of that size and that athleticism. Obviously Steph is Steph. But the last thing I'd say is, we played 2 guys that don't get a ton of minutes. And one of them obviously is D. Lee. He was fantastic. The next one is Belly. It's hard to sit for as long as he has and throw him in during crucial minutes in a closeout game. And he was fantastic. We were down, and I think he came up with 1 or 2 offensive rebounds that got us jump-started a little bit, that energized us. So those 2 guys, it's Steve said it from day one. It's about next man up. Those 2 guys did it and really helped us get the win.
You ever seen 70 rebounds in a game total?
I don't think so. I still, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the 25 offensive rebounds, and it doesn't look right to me still. So let alone 70.
How debated was the Looney start, and why did you end up deciding to go with it?
It was debated a little bit, but the reality of it was Draymond's call, Draymond and Steph's. And it's our job to give our players confidence. And they looked us all in the eye and said, that's where we're going to get our confidence. And they've done it before. Draymond has carried this organization for years with his hard hat. Obviously Steph and Clay with their shooting, but what Draymond does, it's unbelievable. And Steve is going to roll with Draymond no matter what he says and what the outcome is.
Mike, did you almost coach this like a game 7? I mean, Andrew played 42 minutes or whatever, Draymond, and all these. I mean, was that feeling like that in your mind to make sure you just everybody gave everything they had?
This is the first time on my minute sheet this year that I had guys log for 40-plus minutes. So we didn't want to go back to Memphis.
Wiggins certainly, has not quite been through something like this.
Sure.
Everybody's curious. You think there was a curiosity to see what he would do, and what did you think of certainly in the whole game, but the last 7 minutes when you went with that starting lineup to close? What did you see from him?
I saw a resiliency that most people didn't think he had, especially when he was in Minnesota. He stepped up. He was picking up full court. He was switching and keeping bigger guys off the glass. he just sat down and dug in for us. And that was the same thing that he did. It was a game 4 for us at the end of the game. So he's showing up in big moments, and I hope he gets his due credit because he was huge for us this series.
Mike, you've been around Klay Thompson a long time. What do you think this moment meant to him to be able to play like this, and in the game he's known for, and kind of get back to himself?
It's a good question. When I went to give him a hug, and I was ready to tell him just, I want to say I love you and great job. I started saying that. It was crazy. The only thing he said was, Mike Brown, I'm going to miss you next year when you're in Sacramento. I'm going to miss you yelling at me, telling me to get back on transition defense. I said, okay, Klay. so that's Klay. He expects to go out there and play great. We expect him to go out there and play great. But the thing that he did tonight offensively, in my opinion, I still need to go back and watch the tape. I thought the shots that he took were great shots. They were fantastic. And one of the things that Steve always preaches is good to great. He was on point tonight with his shots.
Hey, Mike, is this the loudest you've ever heard at Chase Center? What do you think of the atmosphere overall?
Mark, it was loud. I tell you, though, sitting in that seat for Steve Kerr, you don't really hear a lot. You're kind of lost in your own world a little bit, So I know it was loud, but it was hard for me to really appreciate,
Mike, you mentioned earlier that Steph and Draymond kind of made that call for Kavan to start. How exactly did that come about? Like, did you just ask them directly? How did that manifest?
Yeah, we talked to them. I on the flight back, and actually the reality of it is we started talking about it during game 5 at the end, because we knew going into that game, the one thing we didn't want to chase a win in that game. We as a staff, Steve brought that up to us. He said, don't go into the game chasing it. So we knew there could be a little bit of an emotional letdown. The Grizzlies, they're a tough group. Their fans are terrific, and their backs were against the wall. So we went in, obviously with a game plan, trying to get it done. We realized early on that it wasn't. And so, watching the course of the game, especially in the second half, watching different things, I started thinking about a few things and running it by this guy or this coach or that coach. And then when we got on the plane the next day, I had watched the film and I had some ideas. And so I ran some of the ideas by those guys, and they were pretty adamant about it. And at the end of the day, it's Steve's call. And, Steve, you always hear this guy or that guy's a player's coach. Steve's a player's coach. And he's going to roll with his guys because he's got it done with his guys many, many other times before. So it was for him, for us, starting with him, it was no brainer.
Mike, what worked for Wiggins in the fourth quarter? I mean, he was responsible for a lot of those offensive rebounds and hit some really tough shots as well in the fourth.
Yeah, he was just engaged from Jump Street. This morning during shoot around, I knew he'd have a big game because we changed our pick and roll coverage. And when we made the change, Wiggs asked, he was like, Coach, you want me to pick up Tyus Jones full court? I said, Wiggs, you want to do that for 48 minutes? He said, I'm locked in. I'll do it for 48 minutes. You just tell me. And I said, okay, we'll pick and choose your spots. So when a guy like that comes to you and says that, he's ready for the task at hand.
Like in the fourth quarter, they had no points off turnovers. You guys only had 2 turnovers. But what was going through your mind through those first 3 quarters?
I just want us to get stops. I felt if we got enough stops, we would be able to shake loose offensively and hit some threes. And it's been our trend to turn the ball over in the first half and then to do a better job in the second half. And so we were addressing it the whole game. We addressed it at halftime. for some reason, I wasn't as concerned about the turnovers. I just wanted to get stops and not give them second chances. And I knew that sooner or later, because every time I looked up, we were shooting 32%, 31, whatever it was, we'd start making shots if we kept the game simple. You know.
What does it do to your offense when Draymond is looking to score as he was in spurts of this game?
It opens up a lot for everybody. And that was a call, that Steve said. Steve was like, hey, we're going to roll with you and Loon to start, but you need to look to score. And Draymond was like, for damn right, I'm going to look to score. And he did. And that was huge because when he got the ball, they had to step up. And that's where the little dump pass to Loon was available because of his aggressiveness throughout the whole game.
You mentioned Damian Lee and Bielitsa. You've got Kuminga. You got some other choices there. Were you just going with veteran kind of will there? Why those two guys?
That was part of it. D. Lee had already sort of been in the rotation a little bit, but I just thought Belly's length out on the floor, that added length was going to be good for us. And then, Belly's played in big games. He's been playing in big games. I think he was a pro at like 15, 16 years old, whatever it is. And he's played in some huge games. So I knew at the end of the day, he was, he wasn't going to be rattled, shook, or anything like that, even with him not playing any minutes. And then on top of that, he'd still space the floor and have to be guarded and those types of